Hi, my name is Tanya and welcome to my garden. It is going to be another hot day. I am up early watering my garden and I need to harvest a few things, and I thought I would bring you along as I have a look around the garden, see what is growing and what I can pick at the moment. My last video was about 11 days ago, and since then I have moved a few things around, one being these dahlias that were up the back on the fence line. I have moved them down here and moved the larger ones out of the wind. They have a larger flower and are more affected by the wind. These ones have only just been moved here. These are gorgeous. I love coming out and seeing them out here. These are just the cheap punnet of bedding dahlias. Our alpine strawberries are still fruiting. You can come out and grab a strawberry off there most days, at least one. And the bedding strawberries here in the perennial bed are back to fruiting. I've fed them up and they're getting plenty of water. The thyme plant around them seems to be protecting them and keeping them a lot cooler. The dwarf galas are growing. Some of them have got sunburnt, but they seem to be holding up not too bad. I am losing a few just to the wind and just them falling off. All the lemon balm has gone to flower. And this lemon verbena has just grown so beautiful. It's taking off. The curry plant is flowering. And now I've got some baskets, so we're just going to head up and see what can be picked. That is a parsley that's gone to seed. I'm still getting some asparagus spears, which really surprises me. But I have mulched and fed, and I'm watering plenty through this garden bed because I have a soaker hose that stretches the length of it. I've cleared out my sweet peas, bought those hollyhocks to replace, so hopefully they'll take off. This is the crookneck pumpkin, which is really starting to take off now, so that is getting established. The rhubarb is growing. I've got 3 marked down tomatoes along there. And then moving up here, I found this off a local lady who was selling plants where I got the hollyhocks, a loofah plant. I'm hoping that I can train that up and it will take off along the wire. I may not get any fruit off it or sponges, but we'll see what happens because I think it's kind of late. That was the lemon verbena, and I've planted an echinacea here in the herb bed. Now, I had a question about my compost bins. I have 3 there. I love them. They're called an aero bin. It's the 400 size. It's not the smaller one. I have 3 here and I have 2 out in my front garden along the fence, and I use them all the time. Compost down really well. I have a lot of worms that are inside them. This is 6 o'clock in the morning. When I opened them, the bin is warm and there are a lot of worms just up around the edge. I pile things in. This one now needs some straw over all this green tomato leaves, and I put everything into there, especially things I'm cutting off in the garden, in the vegetable garden or the flower garden. And they go in there. I put dynamic lifter in with it to keep the heat. At the moment, really probably don't need it, but it feeds up and I find that it composts really quickly and easily. This is the pear tree, the berry bush pear tree. The slug seems to be gone, and there is my comfrey plant. And this is where I have put the sweet peas that I pulled out. They dried. I put them along here and then planted the sage in around, because what I want is the sweet peas next season. I want them growing up this fence. I cannot grow food on here because it's possum highway, the top of the fence. So hopefully these will be okay. It's bad enough the pear trees are there and they're going to be all stolen. This is the bean tunnel. These are the purple beans. These are the first ones that I put in. And really the succession planting I did just beside them is not very far behind, even though it was 2 weeks. It really goes to show that once the season has started, whether you plant now or in 2 weeks' time, once they get going, it really does not make a difference. I've been snacking on these while in the garden and I absolutely love them. Here's another favorite. This is the cucumber that is in the pot. It's a good size and we are really enjoying them. Picking 1 or 2 off this most days, so a good yield. This is the wrinkled butternut and they are going fantastic. I keep the leaves down. I've left some of the bigger ones because it's going to be so hot for a little bit of shade, but we have had a lot of wind and this is the highest part of my whole garden, so it does catch a bit of the wind up the top. And the flowers are amazing. There's, I think, did not pollinate. So maybe when we had the windy days, the bees weren't out as much. I'm not quite sure, but I do keep the larger, older leaves around the bottom or where the flowers are trimmed back. I tidy them up just so the bees can get into those flowers. And down here are the sunflowers. Here in this corner, it's a bit protected from the shed, so they didn't get snapped off with the wind. And I've got more purple beans here. I'm not sure if I will be able to find them once the pumpkin on that end gets really going. So there's plenty of flowers. This is an heirloom pumpkin and grows quite large as far as I know. Over here I've got the sweet basil in the old copper pot. And I'm going to harvest that because that just looks beautiful. I'm wanting to pick a whole heap of this and make a pesto and freeze it in some ice cube trays, some silicone trays, so I can have it during winter in the freezer, and when I want to cook with it I can just grab out a cube and put it in anything that I'm cooking. And these ones along here, although these were a punnet, the other ones in the pot I seeded myself. These ones aren't doing too bad. And this is the traveller tomato that I cannot wait until it fruits. I am so excited. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of them. They are the lumpy traveller tomatoes or the lumpy tomatoes. And this is such a good harvest of basil. This is quite a large basket. And I plan to put some into pasta this afternoon. This is the tromponcino. And I've got 2 of those, plus the patty pan squash. When I seeded these, I wasn't sure. I thought they might have been the button squash, but I think that they are the patty pan. and they are loving it here. This is this is not much space between the wire and the two metal beds, and they are loving it. Got lots of flowers on them, so hopefully plenty of squash to come. And that's the traveler tomato, which I really do have to get in and prune, because when you see the rest of the tomatoes after I have taken the time to prune them, it's the amount of fruit is quite amazing. I am always so amazed when I go up there. This is the other side of the pumpkin arch, and it is growing up over. I'm sort of training them back towards themselves because I have rock melon and watermelon planted the other side, and they are just getting going, so I'm thinking that they might need that space to go up. That's the Jackby Little pumpkin, and that one, I'm thinking, if anyone knows, did not get pollinated, because there's a couple like that, and then there are some aren't. So I'm thinking that's what it is. I am no pumpkin expert. But I'm quite amazed because we've had 2 and 3 really hot days, and then days of, low 20s. And it's back and forth, which I would think that it would confuse the garden, but it seems to be loving it. It's almost like a rest. They're the spring onions being covered in, so I'm not quite sure. Hopefully they'll take off. These are some silver beet that I moved out of the raised garden bed, and I've planted them along here. Hopefully when all the pumpkins and the melons grow over, it will get a bit of protection. These are the silver beet that I put here, and they were just spindly little things, and they've taken off and really enjoying it. Now these are the watermelon, and I've got rock melon. Look, there's tiny little watermelons. It's the cutest thing I have ever seen. Tiny watermelons. They're the tomatoes on the other side, and it's sort of both mingling. I have the Space Master cucumbers on the other side of these melons, and they're sort of growing in amongst each other, and I get quite confused about which little yellow flowers are which. And there's another tiny watermelon that is adorable. And that's one's even tinier. They're the silver beet that I've moved. I keep the pathways in between both with a lot of pea straw mulch on them to keep the beds damp. That way it can run in underneath there. There will be roots from the plants sort of working their way down in there, but if that does not dry out, I walk on it, it gets watered there, and it mulches down. And like I said, I think a few videos ago, it will be the soil that I put into the other raised beds and my secondhand glass house when I have raised beds in there. This is the Space Master cucumber, and I've just picked some beautiful, I think it's triple curl parsley. And now we can pick some tomatoes. These have been fantastic. We have been eating them. It's been a great season because nothing has ripened all at once. We've just been able to come out and pick as we need. And I pick them underripe because if anything's going to eat them, it's going to be when they get color on them. Once they start to color up, I pick them and take them inside, and that seems to be working well. The amount of fruit that is on these tomatoes, I am blown away by. It's just amazing. Those other black Russians are growing, they're growing actually on the back of this frame. And they're sort of mingling in together. These are the black cherry tomatoes. This is the shadiest side of the garden bed, so I'm thinking that they will be slow to ripen. But I'm pretty happy because cherry tomatoes, when they ripen, you end up with a glut of them, but this seems to be a good way. These are the mini yellow snack size capsicums. And they are more of the black Russian. So much fruit. It's just, I cannot believe how much fruit there is. San Marzano. I've got 4 plants of those. And they are growing. We've had the odd ripe one and they are so delicious. Got the chilies here. This is a mild chili. And there's another mini snack yellow capsicum. And I have beetroot here, both ends in this garden bed as well. Pick these little cherry tomatoes that have just coloured up. And the sun is coming out and it is the clearest morning. There is not a cloud in the sky, so it is going to get hot. I'll be back out here watering again this afternoon. I think that's the biggest thing, that you keep the water up to the garden so that no plants are under stress, mulching, feeding. And this is the other side of the tomato bed with the chilies and the San Marzano tomato, and these are the black Russian. Just amazing. I cannot believe it. And if you hear a dog snoring, he is at my feet. He is snoring. And that is the bean arch that is laden with purple beans. The abundance is just mind-blowing. These are the Tasmanian chocolate. I'm going to pick this one and take it inside and just see how much darker it gets. I cannot wait to taste this, because there is so much fruit on these 2 little plants. It's amazing. I'm having to tie all the plants in because the vine is so heavy, even when you have the structures to hold them up. Pick some purple beans. I will be back out to pick a heap more, because the more you pick, the more you get. Like I said, I've been up here when I'm watering. I've been snacking on these. They are just so delicious. They do not cook and stay purple, but I will be adding these into everything and freezing some. This is where the silver beet used to be. It was getting very hot and it kept going to seed, so I have cleared them out and topped up the soil, and that is where I want to plant carrots and some more beetroot, I think. These are the long, sweet yellow capsicums here beside the eggplant, and I've got beetroot between each row, which is quite tight, that small amount of space, but it doesn't seem to be too bad because the beetroot are bulbing up. These look delicious, and I'm going to add those into a spaghetti sauce. I've already got some meat cooked, doing my usual. I've prepped my minced meat, and I'm just going to pick a whole heap of things and add them into a pasta sauce. I'm back here at these cucumbers. These Space Master go from tiny to huge in a day. I mean, look at the size of this. This is going straight to my neighbor's chooks. They go crazy for the cucumbers. Look at this. Oh goodness, we'll eat this one, and the chooks can have the big ones. We love to make them happy because we collect eggs while we're in there. These are the rainbow romas. It was just a punnet of 4 plants, and I'm not sure what color they are. We'll wait and see. I'm thinking those lighter color ones will be the yellow. And I've been keeping on top of the pruning of those, and it seems to be very much worth it because I was away for a couple of days and they all fell out into the walkway again. And there's another large cucumber, Space Master. But he looks keen. The mini watermelon, so cute. And he looks pretty happy with the haul of vegetables. Most of them are his favorite, cucumbers and tomatoes especially. Not so keen on the beans, but he'd eat those tomatoes in a flash, and the cucumbers if he was allowed. Now this is the spinach, perpetual spinach, and I've taken some cuttings of the salvias because a lot of the ones in the beds have died. I just could not keep the water up to them, and the possum has made quick work of the strawberries. So these were the $1 markdown punnets of tomatoes and capsicums, and they seem to be going okay. The tomatoes have fruit and the capsicums have flowers, so we'll see. And this is the traveler tomato also. So I need to get in and prune as many as I can so that we can get the yield up. And this is the haul. This is dinner, really. How much food can you grow from a tiny backyard garden? My garden is 10 meters by 7 meters, and that includes 2 extremely large garden beds that are not filled yet. So another cucumber there, and this is the squash plant. The sun is just coming up. There's one squash there and one squash there, and I'd say they will go straight to a chocolate zucchini cake. I've got a little project going. I've found this beautiful old copper that I'm going to fill for probably lettuces, and I'm going to make it part of my little fence. This is some more perennial plants that I've bought off a local lady. So exciting. I'm going to put those in the border, the perennial border that I'm working on at the moment, and hopefully that will bring in lots of bees. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it if you are still here. If you'd like to subscribe, welcome. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.